Hi there, welcome once again to Geekfest Rants. Today we are continuing actually the fall 2010 preview recap show, and we are hitting the Tuesday lineup, both the new shows and the returning shows. With me once again is Steve Avona. Say hi, Steve.
Hey, Carlos. How's it going?
We are going to start with the new shows. And the first one off the bat that we just watched, or we knew it was coming, was No Ordinary Family. Steve, if you want to give that one a shot first.
Yeah, sure. I am big into superheroes. Carlos and all my other colleagues know how much I enjoy comics. So any movie that has anything to do with somebody having superpowers, I'm going to give it a shot. So obviously, No Ordinary Family is this season's contribution to superheroes, for lack of a better term. And I had a chance to see the pilot, which was released online about a month ago. So I saw it then. I liked it. It didn't break any new ground. I felt as though, and I said this before, and it's been written about before, that it is nothing really original about it. It has similarities to both the Fantastic Four and the Incredibles. So there's really not a lot of the powers that the characters have. You can all attribute them to other superheroes. And I know that's difficult to come up with a character who has a different superpower than what's been going on for the last 50 years. But here again, you have a situation where you have actors, likable actors, who you've watched in other shows. Of course, Michael Chiklis from The Shield, which was maybe my all-time favorite television show. So anything he's going to do, I'm on board with. Julie Benz from Dexter, and even going farther back than that, she was a recurring character on Buffy and Angel. I like her very much. And I like the dynamic that the family had with each other. They sort of, when they get their powers, it's a little bit, the defining event that gives them their powers is not quite explained, and I'm sure it's going to be further explained down the road. I get the sense with No Ordinary Family that, and I have nothing to go on but my own sort of superhero instinct, that the pilot of the plane that they were flying that crashed, and they crashed, I believe it was in Brazil somewhere, or in the Amazon, and they had that glowing green liquid that gave them their powers. There was another character there who they probably assumed died. But the actor, and the actor's name escapes me, who played, he's been in other shows. He's has a starring role on Damages with Glenn Close. And something just tells me that an actor of his caliber would not do a 2-minute, 3-minute. I'm making this prediction right now that he's going to be their Dr. Doom, that he's going to be the villain. I have nothing to go on. I have not read anything, but just the fact that he's an actor who, it's almost like in Hawaii Five-0 when they had James Marsters in there. I'm saying to myself, this guy, he's going to be the villain. He's coming back. And there was a little bit more in Hawaii Five-0 to go on than to think that he was coming back. No Ordinary Family, they don't give you any kind of nugget that he's coming back, but I just think that he's going to be the guy.
I first heard about it, again, part of the fall lineup, and it's, to me, was like, oh, good. Great, another superhero ripoff of Heroes. And to me, it seemed very odd that they would want to put up this show now on the tails of Heroes being canceled. And I'm like, well, if they're trying to cash in on Heroes, usually you cash in on a show that's still on and it's still popular, but they're jumping on as Heroes was ending, so it seemed a little odd. But in a way, it's kind of good, because the people that liked Heroes, I have a feeling a majority of them are going to be watching the show because they miss Heroes. Now, granted, this isn't it's not that it's as comic bookish as Heroes, but it seems to be a little more family friendly because the family theme of the show itself. They're trying to combine your typical family show with a superhero theme, and again, like you said before, Michael Chiklis, it's like, I'm watching it and it's like, that's Vic Mackey, man. That guy has to be a little more hardcore, but I can't get past that. But I'm still enjoying the show. I watched it online just like you did, which was, I guess it's a good idea if you want to generate some buzz before the show starts. It started a week after most of the other shows started. I'm not sure if that's because they were finishing some other one of these reality shows or whatever the heck was before.
Mm-hmm.
But so far so good. It does have good effects in terms of hero type television type
Mm-hmm.
effects. It's interesting. I'm actually watching it with my son, and
There you go, family
yeah. So
friendly.
it's he's kind of moving to that age where it's like, as far as we're concerned, okay, let's tackle a little more adult subjects. We can go
Yes,
from Clone Wars to this now a little bit. He can
yes,
handle it.
yes,
But so far so good, and it was really surprising when at the end of, I think it was the first episode, when there was another guy now with powers. It's like, what the hell's this all about?
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of recognizable names, TV people that kind of make the rounds. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. I don't know what the arc of the show is. I haven't even read about it. What will the arc be? Will it be? Obviously, we know that
Will they have
we
an
know there
arc?
are other people now. At least one more. So, what happened is, in other words, is it the superhero power guy versus the regular people, bad guys, or now we're dealing more with superheroes versus supervillains, which is that
Yes.
kind of theme. So, okay, that's interesting. It's so far, like I said, so far so good. Let's see where it goes. Too bad,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, it's kind of good that Heroes is not around, because maybe that kind of show would split Heroes. It might take people away
Mm-hmm.
from it, or I don't know if people would have seen both shows. But it's definitely, I'm sure, grabbing a lot of these ex-hero people.
I agree.
Let's see. Another new show for Tuesday that I was looking forward to and I tried is Running Wild, which is the Will Arnett sitcom. Will Arnett, funny guy. We've seen him in. He's been in, I think, just about everything. 30 Rock. I think he's done
Wow.
all the ex SNL related shows that have been on. And the only reason I was
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to this show is because of him. Because it's like, this guy is really funny on other shows. What can he do on his own? And I don't know if you've tried it, but I watched the first episode, and I don't think it's good. I just
Okay.
it's bizarre. I've never felt about a show. It's almost like, it sounds like it's good. Like, if you read it, it's funny, but when you play it, it's not. It's got this weird
Okay.
dynamic where he's kind of doing his kind of weird characters, but it just doesn't seem to gel very well. It's unusual. I'm not gonna cut it loose yet. I'm gonna give it another try. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe the show has to kind of find its place a little bit, find its footing, but it's just a little odd, the reaction I got from that show. Were you planning on watching this at all, or trying it, or
Actually, no,
okay.
I wasn't.
Are there any shows that you were planning on watching for Tuesdays other than the ones we talked about?
Well, the show that I am watching, the new show that I am watching, is the lead-in for that show, and that's
Oh,
Raising
what's that
Hope.
about?
That is from the creators of My Name Is Earl, which is a show that I did watch and I enjoyed, throughout its run. It's about a young man. It's a single camera comedy, like My Name Is Earl, about a teenager who gets a girl pregnant, but the girl has a baby, but the problem is the girl's a serial killer, and
Oh.
it's a comedy. It's completely played.
Sounds hilarious.
Believe me, it sounds funnier than it actually. He gets her pregnant and then finds out she's in jail, and then she gets sent to the electric chair. She has the baby before she's
Okay.
and he has to take care of the baby, and it's from your typical sort of, he comes from your typical stereotypical, I should say, white trash family where I can't
So
say
it's
that.
the
Can't say white
it's the
trash.
My Name Is Earl theme, basically.
Yes, and his parents had him when he was 15, and they live very sloppily, and they do everything that we wouldn't do, and it's sort of an absurd comedy, but the characters are all likable. There were, I got a lot of laughs out of the first two episodes. The first episode I wasn't so sold on, but then I watched the second one, and I'm like, you know what, this is something I could stick with. Cloris Leachman
Okay.
plays the grandmother. She is absolutely hysterical. So even just on the basis of her alone, you could watch the show. And the actor's mother, and her name went right out of my head. She was in Goonies, and she's been in a lot of movies. She's great too. So it's just a light comedy, and I
Sounds to me
enjoy it.
like you're sticking with it, at least for now. What's your
Yes.
other show for Tuesdays that's new?
Oh, Tuesdays, that's new. Let me just check the grid here.
You said Detroit 187?
Oh, Detroit 187. That's right. Yeah. Again, I get sucked in by cop procedurals, Law and Order, shows like that. This one originally, it's interesting. From what I understand, the premise of the show was supposed to be a documentary crew filming a precinct in Detroit and going out on calls with the cops and filming things as they happen. So you're going around shaky cam kind of stuff. And from what I understand, they went back and retooled the pilot to take away that premise. And there are still sort of little glimpses of that in the pilot. But they've thrown away that concept, and it's just gone to just being a straight cop show. And there's really nothing remarkable about it. Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos is the lead, and I like him. I think he's a great actor. And he was one of the few good points of the American version of Life on Mars.
Right.
But, in terms of the breaking new ground, it's not breaking any new ground. The fact that it's set in Detroit, I think with any good show, any good cop show makes the city a character in the show. And I think that's happening here. And it's not something we've seen before, the city of Detroit.
He was also in
very...
Lovely Bones, playing a cop, which again, he's very comfortable playing. It's very easy to watch him playing a cop as opposed to a gangster, as we've been watching for years before. He kind of transitions very well to that role.
Definitely. And I don't know if there's something to playing a gangster, playing a cop. Maybe it's two sides of the same coin. But I think he's a great actor. And again, it's one of those situations where I think it's the actor who's going to keep me interested. His character, the rest of the characters on the show, there's nothing really remarkable about them. You have the female cop, you have the tough captain, you have the guy who's going to be retiring soon, you have the young rookie. These are all sort of standard. But Imperioli is a good actor, and he's sort of an odd character and somebody who you get the sense has a lot of layers to him. So that, and again, as I said, the city itself, those things are going to keep me interested. Well, I don't know if the show lasts, and the show's not been getting good ratings, but if the show lasts, I think I'm on board, at least for the whole season.
Let's talk about some of the returning shows for Tuesday. Not a lot, but from my side of the fence, I have Parenthood that I started watching last season that I'm going to continue watching. I already watched, I think, 1 or 2 episodes. So far, so good. It's the same, it's a continuation of that story. I don't see any earth-shattering twists yet, and it's not that type of show, I think. It's a family kind of drama, hour-long drama, which kind of, I think we talked about this once before, and it's like we can all find things about our lives in one little spot here or there. And it kind of continues to do that. How about you?
I totally agree. I think every episode of that show has hit me in a way because, maybe one small bit of the show where you see your own life in that show. And whether it's a funny thing or a sad thing or something that moves you, I think it's completely relatable to anybody, in terms of, now I don't have children, but there's the dynamic between parents and children, siblings, even friends, even cousins. So there's something relatable in every episode, and it's got a wonderful combination of humor and drama. They really don't favor. I would say maybe the drama favors the comedy, but the comedy is subtle. But there's always light moments to balance the heavy moments. And it's an extremely likable cast, and they've taken the premise of the movie and used that as its jumping off point. But you can see that they're going to go in different directions.
Plus, they definitely erased the drama out of the movie because the movie was just a comedy, basically, more or less.
Yes.
Do you have any other shows on Tuesdays that are coming back that you're?
The only other show for me on Tuesday is Glee, which kind of would go against my entire personality to watch this show. I can't even believe it myself. I think that what got me interested in the first place
Guilty
was
pleasure category?
well, you're talking about the same guy who created Nip Tuck, and that's
Oh,
a guilty
yeah.
pleasure. And so I said to myself, and even though I stopped watching Nip Tuck shortly before it went off the air because it just got even too crazy for me, I said to myself, well, I'd love to see what this guy would do on a mainstream network. And I'm not into musicals at all either, but I just find that it's relatable. Even though it may take situations and put them sort of into or drive them to an absurd degree. In terms of, I remember what it was like to be a teenager, and I remember what it was like to have certain feelings and certain characters I relate to more than others, obviously. But
well, let's just make one thing clear. This particular show that we are on is not about feelings. This is all about television and geek stuff. So
yes.
we will avoid anything having to do with feelings.
Yes. But we kind of went that way with Parenthood.
Yeah,
so I'm just
you're
saying,
right. Damn it.
It's a fun show. It makes me laugh, and again, I find it relatable. And I do like the way the way they mimic contemporary. There was the Madonna episode, and they just had the Britney Spears episode, and they do their take on their songs, and it's. For some reason, it works for me.
Were you a big fan of Fame back in the 80s? Is that where we're going here?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. So tell us, how do you feel about The Good Wife?
I don't watch it.
Cool. Well, it's definitely a very critically acclaimed show. It's like the critics love it, and I think the ratings are there for it too. It's definitely getting a lot of buzz.
They were not only reviewed for this season, they were reviewed for renewed for next season. Yeah.
I'm sure when I'm drooling in a wheelchair where I have no access to television, somewhere the show will be syndicated in an old age home, and I'll be watching it, and I'll be thinking of you.
Okay.
Let's see here. Anything else in Tuesday's grid?
Well, aren't you watching Caprica?
Caprica, it's funny because it was supposed to come back in January, but for some reason now they said it's coming back next week. So they bumped it up like 3 months, which is, hey, fine by me. I'll take what I can get, because that show was again one of these shows that it looked like it was at the verge of getting canceled or something. But the weird thing about it was that they only played half a season when they premiered, so they kind of put the second season on hiatus, and now they decided to bring it back, and I'll be there for it. I mean, it's not Battlestar. It's not as big or flashy or sci-fi as Battlestar. This is more of a dramatic sci-fi thing. But it's all part of the show, it's all part of that world. So as long as it's here, I'll keep up with it. And it's got enough to keep me interested, but it's definitely not the impact that Battlestar had.
Yeah, I did start watching Caprica, and I don't think I lasted 5 episodes. And I don't know if I just didn't give it enough of a chance. Maybe the premise of it was too far away from the original Battlestar. I like to think of myself as open-minded when it comes to science fiction. But it didn't work for me. The sci-fi was there, obviously, but
sometimes you get the feeling.
The cast,
sometimes you get the feeling that they're sprinkling in the sci-fi to make sure that the people are watching are still in the show. It's like they're trying to present a dramatic story. It's like those Oscar things, a dramatic story set against the background of a sci-fi big,
Right.
They need to up the sci-fi, and it's got some pretty heavy sci-fi stuff, but it's just a different feel. And it's you got to go and see what happens. And I'll go, and if it canceled it, then that's one less show to worry about.
There you go. They're doing you a favor.
It's the formula that I have with a lot of shows. Anyway, I think that pretty much wraps it up for the Tuesday preview recap show. Thank you everybody for joining us, and for Steve and myself, we will see you again next time on Geekfest Rants. Bye bye.